Good evening and welcome to Ebru Africa Primetime News on this Sunday, the 16th day of November 2014. I'm Sam Gakunyi, here with the top stories making headlines today. First, the news headlines.
We must make sure that there's a clear cut in the responsibilities of the National Police Service headed by the Inspector General.
In our broadcast tonight, concerned citizens give government a 14-day ultimatum on security, or they'll take to the streets.
Especially when we are going back to school, you've seen these borders carrying up to 5-6 children.
World Remembrance Day for road carnage victims and what the NTSA is doing to keep our roads safer. Also tonight, we'll tell you about protest against Australia's Prime Minister comments during G20 meeting. A cry for help in Mexico as parents of missing students want action from government. Many thanks for joining us. Now, the concerned citizens of Kenya has given the government an ultimatum of 14 days to take charge of the security situation in the country, or they will resort to mass action. They are calling for a proper structural command in the National Police Service to guarantee smooth running of the country's security agencies.
Following the security challenges our country has witnessed for the last couple of months, Kenyans are still mourning the loss of lives from innocent Kenyans as well as police officers in the line of duty as witnessed in Baragoi, Lamu and the recent being Kapedo in Baringo County, where 21 officers lost their lives. There has been much blame game going on the recent incidences, and one pertinent question that remains is who is to blame for these security lapses.
The
concerned citizens of Kenya Chairman Bradley Ouna has asked the government to address the security leadership and different security bodies to streamline operation, hence come out with a proper policy on how to internally address wrangles.
We must make sure that there's a clear cut in the responsibilities of the National Police Service headed by the Inspector General and National Police Service Commission headed by Mr. Kavolodi, and also the Independent Police Oversight Authority. This is where there is insecurity. In fact, insecurity starts in their offices. They are fighting.
Reports have also indicated that police officers are performing duties in terrain areas without proper equipment, as seen in Kapedo, and the CCK wants the police officers to be properly equipped with the latest equipment in curbing crime and proper remuneration.
There are better weapons to fight crimes. Today, the police are still using the analog communication walkie-talkies. We are way past that. These are things which make police officers to act very well. Proper guns, proper handcuffs, latest communication equipment, better enumeration.
The back in handing the security lapses lies with the Inspector General of Police, and the CCK is asking institutions such as the Independent Police Oversight Authority to stop harassing the police and stick to its mandate, and let the Inspector General crack the whip to ensure sanity reigns in the National Police Service and the country. Police in the coastal area are also being faced with a heavy task of investigating the shooting of community leader Zakaria Mwenyi. Just a week after one of the fallen soldiers of the Kapedo attack was buried, 10 Isiolo victims of the bandit attack that happened along the Isiolo-Samburu border have also been buried. While in Baringo, 2 children have been killed in another raid 100 kilometers away from Kapedo, despite an ongoing army operation in the area.
Kenya has marked the World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims today with a call for regulation into the chaos by boda sector, where the number of accidents have shot up from 1% last year to 19%. Victims also used the day to ask for accommodating structures in buildings and in schools across the country. A march in Nairobi to reflect on the number of lives lost on our roads. That number has slightly dropped this year compared to last year, thanks to the efforts by the Transport Ministry and the National Traffic and Safety Authority. Health Cabinet Secretary James Macharia joined in the commemoration today, confirming that the efforts from the Ministry of Transport have helped reduce the number of pedestrian deaths by 35% drop in deaths from crashes between January and November compared to the same period last year. But a different and alarming scenario has ensued in the boda sector. The number of deaths is alarming.
Especially when we are going back to school. You've seen these bodas carrying up to 5-6 children. That is criminal.
Victims of road accidents have for a long time cried foul of limited access to buildings and also restriction of attending particular schools for school-going children. They are now calling for a review, asking constructors to have them in mind when bringing up buildings.
These voices have not been properly articulated to ensure that we have proper rehabilitation of those who survive, to ensure that there is better recognition by governments and that our buildings are made in a manner that accommodates.
We should not be relegated to go to particular special schools. We can go to any school so long as we are willing and able to go there.
A campaign dubbed Tulia Ufike was also launched to encourage vigilance among drivers and pedestrians in the country. Still staying with the World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims, earlier on I had a conversation with Peter Okumu, the program's coordinator at Usalama Watch Initiative. Among the things he told me, the National Transport and Safety Authority, should be given more time to regulate the road sector, and in the end, he predicts our roads will be more safe. Here is the interview. We've seen the number of accidents in Kenya caused by bodas rise from 1% to 19%. Yes. And this is proving to be quite ahead because even recently Parliament discussed about it and asked government to form policies about it. Does this sector, will we ever see any
discipline?
Yeah, any discipline of, yes, of boda riders in the country?
Yes, I would say, first of all, we're looking at the background at which the boda came into the system, because majorly it was a policy to create employment for the youth. And most of these youths jumped from their bicycles and got directly onto the motorbikes. And many of them do not have licenses today. I know several police officers actually who tell these motorbike guys, if you show me your license, if you show me your reflector jacket, I'll give you your motorbike. I won't fine you. And that way alone, slowly it is creating some sort of discipline, because now from them, the person who shows his license and he's not fined says, actually, I'll never walk around without my license.
As Usalama Watch Initiative, do you think what the Ministry of Transport is doing and the National Transport and Safety Authority are doing, do you think it's enough, and what more would you like to see them do?
Oh, okay. That sounds like a report card and a scorecard for them. Yeah. I would say it's a good try, because NTSA is still a small baby. We're still seeing the NTSA trying to crawl and be able to stand up and walk. And from the word go, I would say NTSA is trying together with Kenya National Highways Authority, because we have now patrol vehicles across the country. Some good portion of the country are covered. And we are from the way we've talked to them, asking them what is their plan in future. They want to cover all the roads such that Kenya attains a status of the safest road across Africa, because so far we are much ahead with regards to our intervention with the rest of the regional centers. So I would say the bag is in it. The safety bag has beaten people, has beaten a good portion of the government, and we'll keep engaging them. Anytime we see anything, we'll keep telling them that this is what is required, and they'll keep telling us this is a gap that we can work together as stakeholders. Because as Usalama, with road safety, it's not a sexy topic.
Yeah.
A sexy topic, like other programming where you'll have to be combative and stuff like that.
Sure.
We have to sit down. A road is required, a good state of a road. What is required? We need to fundraise. The government needs to go into programming and stuff like that. So we have to keep engaging other stakeholders so that in case of anything, like today, I'll tell you, the government has been able to get speed cameras. That is through collaboration with others, people who are donating. We have footbridges that are not safe. What do? We are trying to see, can people come up, can corporates come up and be able to actually now participate by paying a guard for that footbridge, so that anytime pedestrians are walking on that footbridge, they are fine. We have, for example, Thika Road has a maintenance unit that is there. It has been concessioned for 2 years. So anything that happens on Thika Road, there's an engineer on site to make sure it is replaced. Because the reason why you claim we don't have 50-kilometer sign, 80-kilometer sign, 100-kilometer sign is because of the vandalism.
So what you're trying to tell me is that it will take a combined effort.
It will take a combined effort. It's not a single. It's not a fight that somebody can just fight it out singly.
Peter Okumu, thanks so much for the insights this evening. We appreciate.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Asante.
Moving on, First Lady Margaret Kenyatta has called on leaders in Kiambu to urgently address excessive consumption of alcohol and substance abuse that is exposing young people to HIV infections. The First Lady spoke at Miredho Girls Secondary School grounds, Limuru, when she presented the 11th fully kitted Beyond Zero mobile clinic to Kiambu County Government.
It was music and dance as residents awaited the official handing over of the mobile clinic to them. The First Lady officially opened the clinic, the 11th one to be distributed around the country. The First Lady urged county governments to use the fully kitted mobile clinics delivered under Beyond Zero initiative for the benefit of all Kenyans, mothers and children. She also spoke about the HIV scourge and what it affects it.
Alcohol has become an epidemic of significant proportions. It exposes young people to HIV infections, and for those on ARV treatment, adherence is simply not possible.
She encouraged Kiambu County leadership to mobilize resources in support of health initiatives targeting women and children. The First Lady also challenged the county governments to formulate and implement health strategic plans that ensure access to quality and affordable health care for Kenyans.
Today, Kiambu County becomes the 11th county to receive the fully kitted mobile clinic under the Beyond Zero campaign.
A collective agreement between the county government and the national government was signed as a sign of progressive work formula.
Of the mobile clinic to the governor, William Kabogo. Mpige makofi tena.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has called on the youth to take a bolder step in securing their place in the society. He was speaking during a commemoration dinner function in memory of Mbogwa, who was a nephew to the president, and his fiancée Rosemary, who were killed by terrorists during last year's Westgate attack on 21st September.
After the unfortunate demise of Mbogwa and Rosemary on the 21st of September 2013 during the Westgate terrorist attack, the Mbogwa and Rosemary Foundation was formed to help creative and innovative members of the youth. Mbogwa, nephew to the president, was a creative and innovative youth who had great impact to the society. The president asked the youth to be more assertive in taking opportunities that are presented to them.
I think it's time you young fellows also realized that you shouldn't be told that the future is yours. You should want to take the present, because it is the present that belongs to you. And you need to be able to take it, and to grasp it, and to take it forward.
The president also challenged the youth, whom he equated to the late Mbogwa, not to wait lest they are squeezed out.
And we've squeezed out a generation. My generation was almost squeezed out. If you guys who are here, let me tell you one thing. Don't wait to be squeezed out. Take your position now and take this country forward. And I believe you have the capacity and the ability to do so. And ours is to do everything that we can to help you.
The love that he created.
As the Ebola outbreak continues to take toll in Mali, a ray of hope and encouragement is brought in by Dr. Martin Salia, who will now be the third patient treated for Ebola at Nebraska hospitals by a containment unit since the outbreak in West Africa began. He explains his decision to work as a surgeon in a Freetown hospital to help those affected.
Salia was chief medical officer at the United Methodist Church, Kisi Hospital, where he was confirmed to have contracted Ebola. Salia explained his decision to take the position in an April video released by United Methodist Communications.
I knew it wasn't going to be rosy. I see it as God's own desired framework for me. I took this job not because I want to, but I firmly believe that it was a calling and that God wanted me to. I strongly believe that God that have brought me here will fix whatever comes my way. And I'm pretty sure, I'm confident that I just need to lean on him, trust him for whatever comes in.
Contrary to Dr. Martin's strong-willed reports of new Ebola cases in Mali, over the past few days have shaken people's faith that authorities there can speedily contain the spread of the deadly virus. The Malian government has hoped to declare Mali free of the virus on Saturday, but Ebola has claimed at least 3 more victims, and officials are desperately trying to find more than 250 people who may be infected. The atmosphere in the Malian capital Bamako has changed after the news of several more deaths caused by the Ebola virus.
Before we did not believe, but now we believe Ebola is in Mali. It is real. We have seen 2 cases and it has made us so scared.
The Malian Health Ministry is calling for calm and vowed to strengthen controls along the border with Guinea from where the Ebola virus crossed into Mali.
In this next story, a family who fled the northeastern Nigerian village of Chibok talk of their experiences after Boko Haram insurgents retook the village from where the group abducted about some 200 schoolgirls 7 months ago.
Pastor Enoch Mark and his family were among those who were caught up in the attack. They fled the village on Thursday after they saw soldiers retreating in the face of the attack and sought refuge in a town on the outskirts of capital Abuja. One of the pastor's daughter is among the missing 200 schoolgirls. He was at a hospital to treat his other daughter's snake bite when the attack took place.
When the attack started, I was hospitalizing my daughter in the hospital. Then we just hear gunshot all over. And the hospital is by the main road side. When I just went out, I see soldiers were just running with their vans. No, you cannot control yourself.
Boko Haram, which is trying to carve out a capulate in a religious mixed northern Nigeria, has stepped up its attack since it denied a ceasefire announced last month by the government. Chibok and surrounding areas of Borno State have also been regularly targeted by the militians since the April abductions, which sparked an international outcry. The Enochs adopted their daughter Julie after she lost her parents during a previous attack. My
mother was worried because I could not walk. We managed to get to the road. We saw some soldiers at a checkpoint, as if they were really brave. But when the sound of the gunshots got closer, they jumped into their vehicles and zoomed off, leaving us behind.
Mark Enoch's sons sustained injuries during the attack.
They are not Look at him. This is why he got some bruises.
I feel very bad about it because my ambition and my studies were disturbed because all these things that has happened has disturbed me, in fact, and all these people that were killed has make me scared.
The Nigerian army, aided by local hunters and civilian vigilantes, recaptured 2 towns south of Chikobok after fierce fighting with the insurgents, pushing them farther north.
As world leaders concluded their 2-day summit in Brisbane today, dozens of Aboriginal rights protesters marched through the city. The march, one of 7 in the city, was peaceful, although demonstrators were angered by comments by Prime Minister Tony Abbott, describing Australia as a desolate, or rather as desolate prior to British colonization.
The G20 summit has become an annual gathering of protests of all manner of sizes and issues. The group has been enraged by the comments made by Prime Minister Tony Abbott about the nation's history and banned the Australian flag in protest. Their message to the G20 leaders was this.
I guess our message is the same to those leaders of those 20 nation states and the European Union, that they are responsible for the dispossession and the genocide and the bloodshed of Indigenous peoples and oppressed peoples around this globe.
The group then banned effigies of prominent Aboriginal leaders Warren Mundine, Neil Parson, Martin Langton to chants of sellouts. In the past week, the Parklands has been the staging point for a string of marches to coincide the World Leaders meeting in Brisbane. The Brisbane Aboriginal Sovereign Embassy has held a series of rallies in the Roma Street's Parklands, including one on Sunday, to highlight decolonization before profit.
Moving on, the anguished parents of 43 students involved in an apparent massacre by corrupt police and thugs from drugs gangs marched in the town of Utlapa in Guerrero State for a 3rd consecutive day, demanding that some action be taken to return their children to them alive.
They were joined by some students from the rural school in Ayatezinaba, as well as supporters and relatives. Alfonso Rodriguez, the father of Christian Rodriguez, one of the missing 43 students, spoke of his son tenderly before demanding that the government return him alive.
I demand that the government make the 43 students appear because the police took them, and I don't know how they are going to do it. But they are going to bring me my son alive with the 43 students because they took them alive, and we want them alive.
Anger has intensified in Mexico since Attorney General Jesus Murillo said last week that evidence suggests that the 43 missing trainee teachers were murdered by gangsters, incinerated in a bonfire at a garbage dump, and their ashes thrown in a river. The protests have led to mass cancellation this week in the hotels of Acapulco, the famous beach resort, ahead of a long holiday weekend. On Tuesday, hundreds of protesters scuffled with riot police and burned PRI offices in Chilapacinco. The search for the missing has extended to dense bushland surrounding Iguala, with federal police conducting air and land searches with helicopters and all-terrain vehicles. The disappearance of the students has been the toughest challenge yet to face Pena Nieto, who took office 2 years ago, vowing to restore order in Mexico, where about 100,000 people have died in violence linked to organized crime since 2007.
We wrap up our bulletin with some news from Afghanistan. An outspoken female Afghan lawmaker survived a suicide bomb attack on her vehicle today after suffering slight wounds, but 3 civilian bystanders were killed and at least 10 were wounded.
The bombing was the latest to target members of the US-backed Afghan government, which is fighting a fierce onslaught by the IS militants. 3 civilians were killed by the suicide attack and more than 10 wounded. The Taliban's government was toppled by US-backed Afghan forces after it refused to hand over the Al-Qaeda planners of the 11th September 2001 attacks on the United States. Barakazai is a member of the team Ghani appointed to help choose a new cabinet after he took office in the late September after a lengthy and bitter dispute over election results with rival Abdullah, who finally ended up in a coalition government with him.
And that's all we had for you on today's edition of Ebro Africa Primetime News. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sam Gakunyi. Good night.